Cody with Right Hand. Today we're going to talk about the RECCE RPD Beltfed AR-15 Upper Receiver. I'll do a pretty decent deep dive and talk about where the project's at, where it's going, the inspirations of why it's set up the way it is, the design, mindset of why things were built the way they were. People really liked hearing me rant, so this will just be me ranting. I'll probably make some mistakes. But that's fine. I don't like editing, so you just get what I say, and of course anything would be corrected in the future. But one thing to keep in mind about this too, this is prototype phase. Like, this is not ready to be sold. There's going to be some design changes, things that are being upgraded already, things that now that we have a physical example to play with, suggestions of myself, I'm like, okay, I need to change this and that. This is gonna change. So if you're tuning in too, price is not going to be mentioned in this video. Okay, we're not talking about prices yet because, again, there's still material choices and some different design changes that's going to change parts pricing and stuff like that. So if you come here to find out what this is going to cost, you're going to have to wait like everybody else, because I'm not going to talk price today. This is strictly a design talk. There's also, as you can see, almost no accessories on this thing. This is not a kit out. It's not showing how you should set yours up. You set yours up the way you need to set it up. However, today's video, again, like I said, it's just about the upper. And no extra noise on the side. We're not going to talk about links. We're not going to talk about all the logistics necessary. I will make videos about, how to prepare to have a belt fed, for example, because this is a completely different animal from an auto rifle, even though it's still just an AR-15 semi-automatic upper receiver group that feeds from belts. It does take a different logistical chain. So, but there's design cues of why certain things are made because of those that we can explain in another video, of the belt stuff. Why we did the gas systems the way we did, why we did the barrel links. So it'd be relevant information, but if you were looking for a kit out video, that ain't what this is. Again, just a design video. Where the project's at, and now that we have a working prototype of what it is getting close to looking like for the final product, I'm now ready to show it and talk about it more, so people can have a better idea of what it's about. Showing off CAD drawings and talking about this in podcasts, I have something in my head. Not everybody I know has that three-dimensional mindset in their mind. It's kind of hard for people to envision stuff. Even looking at drawings, people can look at it and be like, that looks weird. There's something here I'm not sure on. The drawings are not always true to form. Also, like, sizing in CAD sometimes is slightly off. It looks good on a CAD program, but in reality, it needs to be changed. That's why you make prototypes and you do T&E. And that's also why I'm not rushing this to the market. There's no reason to. It should be very well thought out and designed well before you just give it out to the customers. I don't want customers doing T&E. I do the T&E. That's how you make nice, good products that when you hand them off, they just work. So, and that's what we're known for. So, this will take longer to get, and won't be on the market anytime soon. Lima6 will have some stuff on the market well before us, but that's okay. Patience will pay for you if you are willing to wait and get this, or get those components from Lima and send them in the future for conversions, because we will do complete upper receivers and we will do conversions to the upper receiver kit from Lima6, and we'll also convert his upper receiver group if you've shot the barrel out, or you want a different configuration but you have the Lima6 and it's all one thing. You can sit here and we'll build it into this for you. That's the plan. Again, no pricing on that yet. You can wait. But it is coming. It will be done. Originally, I wasn't going to do like that, but it's kind of easier for some people to be like, I could buy the receiver set now, and I could save up to have the conversion done later. I get that. This is a huge investment. These are not going to be cheap. These are still way cheaper than the competition out there. Um, but it's because it's own thing, and the way it's built and has design cues. Again, Harvey's already gone over a lot of that stuff, but that's why, this is a direct impingement AR-15 upper receiver group that feeds from belts. Therefore, it has less proprietary stuff. Even though I'm making a bunch of proprietary stuff, it's still AR centric. It's not as logistically challenging for small shops or the average user to get parts that would be compatible to make them work on these, which is why it's such a cool design. It's still an AR-15 upper receiver group that's semi-automatic that feeds from belts. Yes, it's got the standard M16 bolt carrier group in it, so obviously it does in fact work with auto sears. So so it's a full auto rated upper receiver that feeds from belts. It's still an AR-15 though, which is awesome. So when Harvey called and was like, "Hey, I want you to work with me on some stuff," and we became friends and started doing all this, I was like, "Well, I want to make my own variant to the nines, because I like purpose built stuff. This has a purpose, and so we're going to build it to that purpose. And this is to be a civilian support weapon, just like the auto rifle platform is. It is a squad based base of fire system, right? So I think the auto rifle fills that role very well. The U.S. government for a long time has used the SAW in that role, so a lot of people want a belt fed at the squad level. But you notice at squad levels, they use light calibers. They don't make the individual guy carry a 240 very often. It's mainly a SAW, which is a light caliber, because it's filling the auto rifle role. So this is still an auto rifle centric upper. It just feeds from belts. But the problem is belts create a lot more heat, because you do not have to reload belts like you have to reload an AR-15 magazine. It's a lot of magazines just continuously, right? So the amount of heat you can generate in a short period of time is very high. On average, a 100 or 200 round belt is used. I mean, I lean more towards the 100s because it's less weight on the gun. But if you're more in a static position, you're probably going to have a 200 round belt into it. So the amount of heat that is in those belts is insane. Like, a 100 round belt is bigger than this table. It's almost a little over 5 feet. And then you have a 200 round belt that's nearly 10 feet worth of ammunition. That's a lot. It's a lot of heat sitting right there in potential. And also, I think a lot of people have this idea that when they start shooting a belt fed, they have to shoot the whole belt, which is not what you're supposed to do. You should have the potential to, if you had to, shoot the whole belt, but that should be a pretty not a common occurrence in my opinion. But you need to be able to keep the gun in a safe manner as long as possible when it comes to heat and getting that chamber hot. Because again, this is still an AR-15, so it fires from a closed bolt. You can't have open bolt machine guns in American society. You can't have open bolt semi-automatics in American society. That's been outlawed for a long time. ATF poo-poos that. So you have an AR-15 that's closed bolt like every other AR-15. You have that more threat of cook-off, correct? You can get the chamber too hot to cook off. And so you got to find ways around that. Now, some places, other people, other designs, they have a barrel change. So you're supposed to yank the barrel out and slam a new barrel in once you've shot. Government dictates in DOD write-ups for 249s or 240s, anywhere from 200, 300 rounds fired, they got to change the barrel. Or they shoot X amount of rounds in a certain amount of time, they have to change the barrel. Which, it's funny is because, yeah, that's all cool on paper. Almost realistically, nobody changes their barrel, especially on saws. I've talked to over 50 veterans of the global war on terror, from Afghanistan to Iraq, all of it. And the only times guys changed barrels was one guy, he was getting out of the Bradley and he got his barrel twisted up in the door and he couldn't trust it, so he had to yank his barrel out and put it in. But I had other guys that were I've never changed my saw barrel. Even in combat, when I shot it a lot, they just didn't change it. Yeah, some guys had to carry them, but it wasn't like they're following the doctrine where they're all set up on a tripod and they're doing the barrel changes and stuff. So it goes to show you too, it's because you're not also just dumping belt after belt after belt. You as a civilian probably won't be doing the same thing unless you're just trying to have a good time, which is totally fine. Guns are cool. Have a good time with them. Have a lot of fun, and go out and shoot trash. I don't care. Understand there's just going to be limitations, as everything has limitations when it comes to a close bolt belt-fed AR-15. It's just, cook-off is a threat. Now we've designed a system off our heat mitigation system, the HMS, which is on our normal auto rifles for this purpose and practical application for a belt-fed AR-15 upper. And all that's doing is helping you stave off the inevitable cook-off. So, you still have to be safe. You still have to have SOPs in mind to keep the gun, cool as best as possible and cool the gun off when needed. And take that time. Otherwise, you will find yourself in a dangerous position, and you shouldn't do that. So it's about there's still a lot of responsibility involved with something like this. So since we're not doing a QD barrel, because again, it's another layer of proprietary and complicated use. Not a lot of civilians are trained to do barrel changes and all that other stuff. When you're yanking out a 300 or 400 degree barrel, that's inevitably also a hazard if you don't know what you're doing. There's videos of guys shooting their other barrel, QD barrel systems like the Fight Light or their saws, and they stick them down on something, they light it on fire. It's just it's just one more thing that the guys are just not prepared to do for the most part. So it's just like, we're just going to bring it down to the common denominator and keep things simple. And the heat sink system is why Harvey reached out. He goes, that makes more sense, because he wanted to keep it fixed barrel for a good, even though there's plans for QDs on his part. But, the fixed barrel is still the most viable way, I think, for 98% of the market. So by putting the heat sinks on there, we're going to be able to draw heat away and make this gun run longer without having that immediate threat of cook-off. Because without the heat sinks, you start shooting 200 round belts. We've seen a couple of the other YouTubers out there playing with the beta units and stuff, and they were getting to cook-off temperatures pretty quickly. And that's just the reality of having a bare barrel. Even if it's a big, thick 980 style barrel, once it's heat soaked, it's heat soaked. And once it's got to that point where it's hit that temperature, you will just have cook-off. So the goal is we need more mass and ability to cool off said mass. So heatsink system. So that's what we're known for here at Red Right Hand. That's my favorite thing to do, is design heat sinks for cool applications. And I think this was a great application for it. So put a heat sink on it. This heat sink is massive. As you can see, this is huge. So this is the standard heat sinks that you find on our LMG upper receivers, the RECCE LMGs and mil-spec LMGs. And they are significantly bigger. So we put 4 of these on a 20-inch LMG H-bar, and then we're going to put 2 of these on the 18-inch mid-length 980 H-bar profile that we have here. 4 of these still don't weigh as much as this. They're actually like just shy of 2 ounces lighter than what this guy weighs. So this is a significant amount of mass. We're looking at just under 15 ounces worth of aluminum mass. So some people thought that aluminum would be a bad choice, because aluminum, once it hits 1200 degrees and you've heat soaked the part to 1200, it becomes a liquid. That's just the nature of the beast. But it takes a lot longer to heat up this much aluminum in comparison to heating up this much lighter amount of aluminum, right? This is going to take a lot longer to get to melting temperatures. Of course, some people are going to be like, well, what about hot spots? Well, the thing is it's going to be drawing the heat away from it towards the outside the whole time. So again, there will be limitations to the aluminum, that's just the nature of the beast, but we're going to give it every opportunity to do its job. That's why it has so much mass And another thing that we're looking into is because like these are just black anodized, which has been very effective for the auto rifles. We're going to do some testing on this. But the other thing that we're currently testing is these heat sinks are covered in a heat transfer coating from Cerakote, which allows the part itself to shed heat even faster. And it's like a 10 to 15% increase in ability to let heat go. And, I haven't done any burn down tests on this, guys. I mean, literally, this is within a couple of days of me getting this finally assembled. But I've already shot 800 rounds through it. And we did 400 rapidly, and I couldn't get the heat sinks to be hissing yet. So when you pour water on this system to cool it off, which is what I authorize you to do, is pour water on the aluminum heat sinks. You will not damage this barrel. You won't damage any of the components. Water evaporates at 212 degrees. That's when it starts hissing off and burning off. So if the heat sinks at the top here aren't hissing water off, they're not even at 212 degrees. So it maintained its accuracy all the way through that 400 rounds. It showed no signs of opening up, which means the mass was still taking and pulling the heat away from the core of the barrel where you want to remove heat. So it's already showing to me that it's going to be very effective for what it is. There are, of course, and there is another design. I'll probably kick myself for mentioning it, but we are looking at doing a titanium 3D printed heatsink for these. And it's going to be god-awful expensive, and I do not think you're going to, again, it becomes the ends justifying the means, diminishing results, right? Like you're going to pay so much more and have such a little bit more operational envelope. I don't think it's going to be really a viable thing expense-wise, because the aluminum just still outperforms every other thing that we've tried. I did get a couple of these made in copper for funsies. They weigh as much as the barrel. The two heat sinks weigh as much as the 2.8 pound barrel. So immediately kind of like let's just double the weight for not a whole lot of gain. It looks cool though. Maybe we'll show that off in some stuff. Realistically, I planned on giving those to Harvey as a gift, just because they're cool. But also they're insanely expensive to manufacture. Like it's just, you got to keep this within the realm of making sure people can still afford it, and the fact that it's going to do the task that you're asking it to do. And so far already, in the 800 rounds I've shot through this thing, the aluminum is doing phenomenal. So we'll be doing some more heat stress tests on them. Of course, we'll publish those results and show you off, some of the limitations of the system and also what it's capable of doing, because it's capable of going a long way. And I think you have to remember too, with a belt-fed ammunition, you have an 11 cent, a 9 to 11 cent link on top of whatever round you're shooting. So you're anywhere from 58 cents to 65 cents a round. If you're shooting bulk ball ammunition, it's an expense. This thing sucks 100 rounds through it like water. It just goes right through it. You're just like, oh, that was expensive. It's not cheap. It adds up quick. So it's not like you're going to be shooting just thousands of dollars a day. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys have to pay a mortgage out there. So yeah, it's not I don't think you're going to be encountering situations where you're going to be shooting tons and tons and tons of rounds in a short period of time. You might shoot them over a whole day or a weekend or whatever, but this does consume ammunition, but it's not like you're going to shoot it all at once. Again, the idea of like a meltdown, we're not melting this down. That's dumb. We're going to shoot it and find out safe limits of operation. We don't need to shoot it to melt it because that's a waste of time. The variable can be the temperature of the day, what kind of ammunition is being shot, what kind of pace it's being shot at, how long is the belt, or is it just one giant continuous belt? Again, it's destruction for no reason. So the goal is to shoot this in the most realistic scenarios and then push it into a little bit of more extreme cases, but make a safe product and give you the guardrails to it and be like, all right, this is where you can safely operate it, have fun, be safe. That's, everything's gonna have a limitation. At the end of the day, this still is a semi-automatic AR-15 upper that feeds from belts. So you could probably blow the gas rings out of this thing in an afternoon if you're really, really cranking on it. or you're gonna, run out of ammunition, or more likely run out of ammo before you have any problems with this. But it's, there's challenges with that to get it to that point. So I know I'm probably rambling at this point, so we're gonna get back on topic. Sorry, the autism kicks in on occasion where I'm just wargaming it all in my head. But needless to say, so the heat sink system is massive, and it was built for the task. These are just around 2 inches in diameter, and they fit on a 980 profile, which I'm a huge fan of 980 profiles. So they're just under an inch, and they go from the extension to the gas journal, and it steps back down to 750 because we're still using standard gas blocks across the board. Rifle speeds, of course, the choice for us on these. And then it's a standard M16 out the front, just like all our other LMGs. You have a lot of barrel mass here. Like I said, they weigh 2.8 pounds. They're almost 3 pounds. They have good wieldability. These are 18-inch mids, so it's an 18-inch barrel with a mid-length gun, mid-length gas system. And if you notice, when you have the extension up at top, there is no gas port here because the gas port has to be at a clocked position. So when these barrels are actually installed in these uppers, they are clocked at a different angle, and then the gas port is at 90 degrees from there. So yes, you can get a normal AR-15 barrel, rotate it, and drill a hole in it and make them work. Ours will be, of course, made with the correct port. That way you don't have an extra leakage point for gas. The reason why we went with 18-inch mid and why I'm very hesitant to shorten this and sell it as a complete unit. When somebody buys something as a DIY kit, they already immediately expect themselves to have to tune and play with that, and it's a project. I build products. You're buying from me a completed unit that it's turnkey, right? You don't go to Toyota and be like, oh yeah, you could sell me possibly a project Toyota and I'm good with that. Like, no, you go to the dealership and you expect the thing to work and just run and do its job, right? So when it comes to my company, this is a completed unit. You should be able to buy it, throw it on your upper or on your lowers, and go have fun. There shouldn't be any dialing or worrying about, oh, did I get the right ammunition or anything like that. So the one thing about belt fed is belts weigh a lot, and you have to have a lot of gas to pull those belts. Now, rifle length, with the testing that Harvey was doing, you can run a rifle length barrel, so you have the longer rifle length gas system, but the ports were getting kind of crazy big, and I didn't want to go that big with the gas ports on that, because even though we run rifle speed and you can change plungers and dial it way back if necessary, I wanted more dwell time in the barrel to eliminate that. And so by having an 18-inch mid, you have an extra, inch and a half worth of dwell time over a 20-inch rifle length gun. You're still at 18 inches, so you're still getting great velocity, great accuracy at distance, and you have more operational gas to make sure this thing is super reliable. And that's, to me, was more important than making it like cool guy status short and blah, blah, blah. Like, I get it, short guns are kind of neat, but the whole point of a support weapon that's belt is, again, a level of almost overmatch. And again, if you're around a bunch of people with 14s and 11s, having an 18-inch there just gives you that much more distance and capability and lethality at distance that you just don't get with the shorter barrels. And I think if you're going to go heavily into something like this, you want those advantages to be built in. It's not worth, in my opinion, limiting yourself by going to the shorter barrel. Also, then you get in the more finicky gassings, right? Like, yeah, you can gas it up, or you can put a can on it and overcome a lot of things, but then you're dedicated to a suppressor on the front just about to make sure that you have 100% reliability, or we open up the gas port a lot. And then, maybe you find some hot ammo and it's just so much and you're like having to change plungers all the time. I wanted something that was going to be super balanced. Yes, you're going to be able to change out rifle speed plungers at will here to make this thing kind of run any way you want, more gas, less gas. But this just was the best balance. And it's been 100%, like as far as its ability to cycle and run everything. We've done testing where we've shot tons of ammunition. I mean, flat nose, soft points, hollow points, you know, special duty critical flat nose, like rubbery tip bullets. I mean, this thing eats it all because it's an AR-15 and it's extremely well gassed. Like, it's just able to just do all that, from also down to Wolf to Hot 193 or Hot M855, match grade ammunition 77s, you name it. So the gas system and the barrel length with the dwell time was just, I think, just a good choice, and this is where it's going to stay. I don't really have any plans of offering it to be shorter anytime soon. I want to make sure that the 18 is absolutely perfect, and then we'll sit down and then I'll play with like maybe a 14 or a 13.9 and really spend the time on it, because that one's just going to require way more effort to make sure it's perfect. Where we want to get something in the market, and also I think just like how I approached the RECCE LMGs and then all the models below it, the RECCE LMG is the GOAT. It was the best design I did, and that was the first one I offered. Everything else after that, yes, it does the task, but it's just still not the GOAT, right? That's the concept here. This one will be the model, and everything else will be kind of that comes. If I make more models that are shorter or whatever, they won't be like as perfect as this. Not that they're not perfect. They're not perfect in my mind. Meaning, you know, it's got great improvements. It's shorter, but the original one is just excellent. So, I think this is the GOAT variant, right? It's going to be the GOAT variant. So yeah, these barrels right here, I had Shaw make me. So I have a couple other other treatment ones that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do a stainless nitride with another treatment on it, because I really like nitride. These ones right here are just 4150 nitride barrels themselves. But then the production model is a Roscoe made, because I sent them the print too. They are making to my print, just like Shaw did, the production one. So the production uppers, when they finally start shipping, will have a chrome lined, phosphate coated Roscoe made barrel. They're all 1-in-7 twist, 5.56 NATO chambering. They have the proper gas ports in them, and they are made to my tolerances to accept the heat sinks and all that stuff on them. And of course, you know, both Shaw and Roscoe make great barrels, and I'm very happy that they like to work with me as a small company and make, you know, when I called up Carl, I was like, hey, can you do this? He's like, oh yeah, I can make that happen, you know. And same thing with Roscoe. They were more than happy to make that happen. So looking forward to that in the future. Chrome line, of course, everybody's going to want chrome line barrels. But I think that nitride has an absolute fucking great place here. And I think stainless steel does too. Some people will be like, "Yeah, it's wild." Well, we'll see. Well, I got some stuff in the works. I think they're going to be neat. So, made the barrel. The other thing that we're going to be doing is a gas tube. So this is a custom gas tube. This one's not what you're going to see on the production models. I've already made all the changes from this version to the one that's going in the production units. But these are stainless, and they're huge. They're a big fat gas tube. They thin down here at the back though, because they have to clear through a bunch of barrel nuts and get into the receiver. But they're finned, and they're going to be coated and nitrided as well. So we looked into doing Inconel, and it was just not going to happen, guys. I'd have to have it milled, basically. So call up somebody who mills and makes tubing out of Inconel and then custom order it all. And I'm still a small company. So that's just out of the question. We look to find anything that we can like machine down. Also, machining Inconel is a nightmare. And it was just, at the end of the day, this is already performing extremely well, and these ones aren't even nitrided. These are just stainless, and they're treated and stress relieved, and they're holding up fantastic to all this abuse. So we're going to make them last even longer and be even tougher. So I'm very happy with these. They will only be found on this gun. Don't call me and ask me for these. I will not sell these to anybody as a part, because this is a liability kind of thing. So it has to be paired with the right stuff for this stuff to all work, right? Everything has its own failure points and design cues. You can't have one thing way overbuilt and then put a bunch of weak stuff behind it, like build a badass Cummins and then put the shitty Dodge transmission on it. Duh. You know, there's your failure point, is now the transmission, because you know, yeah. So won't sell these to you, but they will be on the RECCE RPD. So this is also a project I've been working on for like over a year and a half, 2 years. So kind of fun to finally put this into something. So when Harvey hit me up, I already had this barrel profile already dialed in. We already had an upgraded gas tube going. So it was, you know, a bunch of other parts for other variants that I'm going to be building, kind of also cross-pollinated into this project. But the big one here is the handguard. And, you know, the reason why this handguard had to exist was because, well, we already had the barrels, and then we're like, we need to make a monstrous heat sink. Well, there's no handguards that are going to fit this, so I'm going to have to make one. And this was it was a fun project. Took very many months and cost a fortune to do, but I learned a lot, and I'm very happy with where it's going. So Harvey's upper receiver sits 3/4 of an inch higher than a standard AR-15 because A, it's the top cover, and that's where it's feeding everything from. And I wanted a continuous rail across the top, so that kind of gave me my height. And then from there, we kind of messed around with how the bottom would look, and we had to make a handguard. So I designed the extrusion, and then I had this extruded. I own the die, it's mine. Like I said in other places, no, you may not just get the extrusion. No, you may not just get the raw deal. This is mine, it's unique to my company. I put the work into it. This has so many applications for this upper receiver and future models and legacy stuff. That's why I spent so much time on it, because there's a lot of other stuff that can be built and used in the future with more products here at Red Right Hand. So this is for Red Right Hand. But yeah, big old chunky extrusion. And a lot of people were thinking this would just go on a regular AR-15. I mean, technically you could install it on an AR-15, but it might look kind of funny. But I might have a solution for that for some other neat models in the future. But the goal was realistically is to make sure that it would take our giant heat sinks and give you some capabilities built in. Did ARCA on the bottom, and then because I felt that was kind of important, because ARCA rails and ARCA tripods and all that stuff are like becoming way more popular, and there's just a lot more options for them. Picatinny is still extremely popular, but Picatinny tripods are just kind of that, or you got to buy a special head for just to have the pick, because most stuff is going to have the ARCA. So went with ARCA, and of course then we just dropped in M-LOK. Here's a final machine one. So we just dropped in M-LOK across the bottom. So if you want to still run your pick, you can just bolt on some pick rail and make sure you use aluminum or steel, and you're golden. So you can run your pick mounts on the bottom. But as you can see, it gets final machine, and a lot of air holes, a lot of ventilation. These also look very Stoner 63. I really like that look. And, I'm a huge fan of Stoner, obviously. So little homage back to that style. But M-LOK on the sides. We did some lightning dimples in here. And actually the rail itself is not very heavy. It's thick. It's thick in all the right places. It's got a good weight to it, but it's what you machine it, it's really nice. Very strong. And again, purpose built, purpose driven. It's mounted with 4 screws on the bottom, some screws up here, 4 screws on the sides. And that goes onto a mounting system that is, I don't have one of the parts here, but what slips over the barrel nut. So the barrel nut we use is steel. That's actually the same barrel nut that Dane over at Munition Works designed. So Dane and I have done some work together, and I was like, I'm using that barrel nut because it's a great design. It's solid steel. And I thought that was very important to have a solid steel lockup on here. So steel gets hot. This also acts as a heat sink because it's a giant aluminum mount that gets pressed onto that barrel nut and then bolted in, and then the rail bolts to that. It also gives us the carry handle here option, which I'm already going to do some design changes to this, guys. I don't worry about it. I noticed it's kind of small. We're gonna make this a little bit longer, and we're gonna thicken up a few spots on it. Right now, it's this is configured to a right side lay, but it can be flipped and selected to go to the left side. But when it's on, since it's right hand configured, it'll sit like this on this side. It's its own weight that keeps it down. There's no detents or anything extra there to get broken, lost, heated up and melted or whatever. It just chills, and it doesn't move around a lot when you're scooting and daddling. It just sits there. So, but it does give you a built-in carry handle, which for a weapon system like this is pretty important because this without, when I had the optic on it and a bipod in my lower, it was like 15 pounds unloaded. They're not light. I think once you kind of really get these dialed in, kitted, if you put a can on it, depending on the 100 or 200 rounds of ammunition you throw on board, whether you use a heavier optic or a lighter optic, I still think most people's builds are going to be around 15 to 19 pounds kitted and loaded. Still not light. It's still lighter than a saw, but it's not, like very light. But that's a good thing because for this type of weapon platform, what you want it to do is sit there when you shoot it. And boy, does this do that. It just sits there. It's very accurate. I was having some good times the other day out to 700 yards, and the cone of fire was just splashing the zone like this. It was just mint. There was no wind, so it was super easy. Just 55 grains, 700 yards, just splashing the little dug-in positions I have with targets. It was awesome. Single shots, of course, you just sit there and very easy. Again, it's an AR-15. Performs just like an AR-15. It's not unpredictable or weird to shoot. It's like an AR, but it's feeding from a belt. So, of course, the rifle speed makes this super easy. You can, speed it up, slow it down. I like these to run at a slower ROF, and you can do that with the rifle speed by cutting back some gas on it. Of course, we recommend the A5 buffer tube with the H3 buffer weight and the orange Springco spring. That's been my favorite combination. That's what this is being designed around. That's what you'll have to put on your lower and run with this. So right now, this is running a 9.3 gas port. We have done 9.8. I'm still kind of leaning on the realm of maybe still giving people the 9.8. But so far, it's chugging and eating everything so far. My original other barrel I was playing with on the beta unit, which you've seen with the Midwest rail and stuff, that was a 9.8 port, and I was shooting Wolf very easily through it. So I'm going to try it here with the 9.3. But, I'm assuming people are going to find, because that's somehow coming back to the marketplace. I saw Wolf for the first time, like available on SG. I was like, what? They're pulling them out and trying to sell it. And I'm not a fan of Wolf ammo. It's pretty trash. But also, if you want to shoot a Beltfed, you're going to find the most affordable bulk stuff you can. A lot of my testings with Igman and PPU and Lake City, and all of it's just ran really well through here. I'm a fan. So the once again too, though, the barrel, this is just slipped on and set screwed in place at the moment. It was just to show it off, but these will be able to accept our bayonet mount lugs, so you can put a bayonet on your Beltfed because it's fun. Also, I've been shooting a lot of suppressed. So again, the other thing that was super critical to the design, again, was making sure that you could adapt to suppressors at will. And again, rifle speed gives you that capability. And, with flow through style suppressors or reduced rack pressure cans, I've been shooting the rugged axial a lot on this because it's awesome for this. I don't like the rugged axial on my auto rifles very much. Has some really bad first round pop in my opinion, but the on a belt fed, it really shines on here. So if you're looking that route, I would suggest that one. Not saying you can't run any other suppressor. I ran the HRT Griffin on here, the 5.56 Gen 2, and then I've also ran my Optimus on here, but I like the rugged more on this. I like the Griffin stuff on my auto rifles way more, but you can do that, and the best part is then you can dial it in with the rifle speed. And with the flow through cans, you're only going down like 1 or 2 notches and you're keeping the same a smooth ROF. You can go down too small and make the gun not run. You'll find that with that where you're going to have to tune this with your ammunition, your suppressor, and all that stuff. You're going to have to find out exactly what works for you in your environment, but it's adjustable to that, which is very, very important. Excuse me. But the goal is it can shoot everything and pick its ROF, which is huge because a bunch of other options on the market, those things are fast. My God, you know what I'm talking about. Those guns are ripping hard, and everybody's having to run them on adverse settings to get them to cycle. And I just think that's excessive. The beauty of this being direct impingement is that you can dial it like a direct impingement AR-15 and make it shoot like any other good 18-inch gas gun. And that's, I think, a huge advantage to this platform. So, but yeah, no, I do have some design changes to the tubes. We've already addressed the heat sinks. We're going to play with some, try to see if we can melt a few and do some abusive testing on them. But so far, they're performing extremely well. There's going to be some changes to the barrel nut mounting system here, the rail mount system, as well as the carry handle. But I'm really pleased with this rail system. We will offer complete rail units to the parts market as well as the barrels. We'll sell those to the guys that have bought the kits or whatever and they want to build their own. Those are the few parts we offer. I'm not selling you my gas tube though, and you're not getting the heat sink system. So if you want the heat sink system, you can send in your gun to be built into a RECCE RPD, or you can buy the RECCE RPD outright. That's the way I can warranty everything and guarantee it. Like, there's a lot of installation on this. This is a lot harder to assemble and put together than the the RECCE LMGs. That's for sure. They're a little bit more complicated, and the parts are more complicated. So that's just as part of that warranty that you get with Red Right Hand products. To note, our auto rifles have a barrel replacement built in. If you ever shoot out at a RECCE LMG or a RECCE IAR and you shoot the barrel out, we'll give you a new one. The Beltfed does not have that. I'm sorry, guys. No one's getting free Beltfed barrels. Okay, so you shoot it out. I will have a program though. You can come back, with your order number saying, "Hey, we shot the barrel out of it. Can we get a new one?" We'll get you one at a significant discount because that's part of it. You can just be able to send it in. We'll rebarrel it for you at a good price, and then of course we'll go through your gun and make sure everything's looking good. If there's anything like that was like an upgrade or something that you want to have installed in at that time, we can also do that. So it will be covered under our warranty. Like normal products, except for it does not get just a free barrel. You'll get a heavily discounted barrel, just because the potential for people to go out and go ham and eat their barrel up with belts is a lot higher than you would do with a auto rifle feeding from a magazine. So, but otherwise, yeah, that's where the RECCE RPD is currently sitting. I like it a lot. I've been shooting it. I'm going to shoot it some more, see more footage on this. I'll also be here talking more about this in the future. I'm sure this video is getting kind of long now. But please be patient. Please don't flood my inbox or my email with a billion questions daily. I have some people like send me stuff like reoccurring. I have a whole other bit, a whole business is being run by me, and there's other stuff that requires my attention. Sometimes I don't get to emails right away, so please be patient. We're not going to parts out anything to people. We're not piecemealing it. You either buy it as a kit or you buy it as a complete unit. Well, kit as in conversion. You mail it in, we build it as a complete unit, or you buy the complete unit. So nothing's really piecemeal. When rails and barrels might be available, might be sooner than the whole upper receiver. But we'll see. Again, I'm not telling you any prices yet. It's not going to be cheap though. So start saving your money. Beltfeds cost more to operate, and it costs way more to buy. So that's just the nature of the beast. All this stuff's expensive to manufacture and bring to market. And I've invested heavily into Harvey's system because I do believe in what Harvey's doing, and I think it's a great upper receiver, and I think it's another great addition to the auto rifle categories and civilian defense industry, civilian defense products, and stuff like that. So, yeah, but RECCE RPD, yeah, it's super cool. I'll be posting more footage of it and stuff on videos that we know are going to instantly be AIDS restricted and demonetized and all that stuff. Not like I make any money on YouTube, but I like people to be able to still see stuff. So you gotta follow the rules. So this is supposed to be just like an intro to the RECCE RPD prototype. Like I said, things are going to be changing soon on a few things, but we're getting close. But it's going to be a while. So I'm not going to announce anything official on like when you'll be able to pre-order these things until probably closer towards Black Friday, Christmas time. I don't think we're going to be shipping any complete RECCE RPDs though till after SHOT Show. We'll see. Again, it depends on how all this testing goes. Did I get it right the first time? I hope so. But if there needs to be changes, then changes have to be made. So that's what the whole check your work is all about, and go out and design the best thing you possibly can. And that's what I'm here to do. So, all right, I'm done ranting. Thanks for watching. Again, check out our social media, Red Right Hand LLC on Instagram and X. You'll see lots of videos and stuff of this. I'll post in stories and post reels and whatnot of more updates in the future. Yeah, check us out, redrighthandllc.com. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the RECCE RPD, and it's coming here in a couple months. I'm excited. So thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy.